Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there in the morning to you. I notice I didn't say good morning. I said a morning to you. It is. I hope it's a good one. It's the 17th of the 12th month, and it's a Tuesday, and my sister Susan is joining us from the family homestead on the frozen tundra of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Hello, Susan.
Hello. It was pretty cold here yesterday.
Was it? I was watching that wonderful documentary that HBO did on Vince Lombardi yesterday for some reason, and they showed again the ice bowl, and I didn't they didn't have wind chill factors back then, did they?
No, but we didn't need them because it was 30 below. Who wanted to know the real stuff?
Well, they said it was 38 below.
And we were all sitting there like idiots.
Yeah, we were. And
I was
30.
the first to leave. I made it through the third quarter, and that was enough for me.
Really?
Yeah. I went back to the car. I was in such pain, and I got booed. When I stood up to try and, get out of there, everybody around me booed.
As well they should have. The thing I remember about leaving that freaked me out, that scared me, is I could no longer feel my legs. My entire legs. So I had to watch where I was I had no sensation. They were frozen. That's never happened to me since. I could not feel. They were like blocks of ice. And we did not have the kind of clothes and stuff that we have now.
No. I mean, I can remember what we did is we put plastic bags on our feet and then a plastic bags, a sock.
No, I put plastic bag sock like an idiot. I had the plastic bag on my foot. Then I didn't understand it. Somebody said, here, put plastic bags on your feet. And so I did, and then put the socks over it. And to this day, I think I did damage to my feet that day. I mean, they freeze very quickly. I
can remember how much it hurt to warm up.
Yeah, thawing out was the most painful. We built a fire in the living room, and I was sitting in front of it and whimpering. I remember almost crying. It hurt so much to thaw. What a ridiculous event. But today you could do it and not be that cold because of all the gear. The gear we have. We didn't have gear. I suppose the hunters maybe were better accoutered, but we were idiots.
It's pretty hard to sit in that cold weather because you can't even do anything to, keep your body heat up.
No, that was...
Except sit in between two large people from Wisconsin. You do have to factor that in.
Oh, yeah. And but it was weird. I was looking at that again, and oh, man. The pain came back. Okay, Sue. So I have to. I have so much stuff here to talk about. There's so many interesting things to talk about that we're just going to have to go one after the other. I have first of all our medical area, and we're going to do that. Studies show this. I saw in a number of papers today. Vitamins are an absolute waste of money.
They've been saying that for so long.
Well, they say enough is enough. This is in the Annals of Internal Medicine, strongly worded editorial saying, case closed. Stop wasting your money on multivitamins and other supplements. They have
and they're expensive. I mean, I don't know. If you look at what a bottle of Sencum costs, that's real money. But
if you're a woman of a certain age, they do tell you to do calcium and vitamin D. Now, am I not supposed to do calcium and vitamin D?
On alternate Tuesdays and Thursdays, the vitamin D comes in and goes out. I mean, all you have to do is get a little sunshine on you. And
I don't know. They're not all on the same page. I have an endocrinologist who absolutely says every person in Pittsburgh should take a vitamin D supplement because there is no way you get enough vitamin D from the sun in this city. Now, is he nuts? Are they nuts? I am so sick and tired.
And look at it this way. Taking a couple of thousand or between 500 and 2,000 milligrams of D, whatever, which is, sort of where the dose varies there, is not going to hurt you. It might help you, but part of the issue is that people take these mega doses of stuff, and that can actually hurt you.
Yeah, I know that. I
mean, most of it, I think, what they're arguing is that your body simply doesn't metabolize it. It goes in one end and comes straight out the other. And if you want to eat vitamins, eat a proper diet. It's really interesting. I had a juicer foisted upon me.
You've already told us about your juicer.
Well, I just want to tell you about
becoming a juicer.
I just want to tell you that what happens when I actually make a juice, which would usually have something like the juice of an apple, a couple handfuls of kale, some carrot, some pepper, some ginger, tastes just fine. But after drinking just one glass of that, I am not hungry in a totally different way.
Yeah, but you don't have a normal hunger and thing.
No. But I'm just saying, I'm not a really high vegetable eater, and it is so clear that I have just given my body what it actually wants to eat.
Will you tell me how? I know I'm being contrarian. Will you tell me what was that recipe you just gave us? Kale and ginger and apples and what?
Carrots.
How that tastes good?
A little red pepper, whatever I got.
How does that taste good?
It really, well, first of all, and cucumber. The apple juice and the ginger make a very tasty drink. The kale, several handfuls of kale comes out to be maybe a tablespoon of dark green. It's actually really pretty. Because it all striates.
All right, but everything you have, all those ingredients are wonderful ingredients, and I do eat them. But
you don't need to juice. But what I'm saying is, if you have a glass of this, you feel more satisfied and better than if you sat down to a meal of steak and potatoes.
Oh, speak for yourself, babe.
Well, I am speaking for myself because I am a steak and potatoes girl. I'm just saying I can feel the difference in my body. Not enough to make me juice regularly. It's a pain.
All right. So.
But what I'm saying is I can see that our bodies crave that stuff, but they don't. A pill doesn't satisfy.
No, that is true. That would be true. Anyway, for those of you, no one's going to listen to this anyway, because if people are in the habit of doing these supplements, they do these supplements and they feel better doing these supplements. But if you want to save some money, stop it. That's all. The doctors are saying, just stop it. Will you? Anyway, there was that news. Then I want to talk about, New York Times had an interesting piece a few days ago about the selling of attention deficit disorder. And listen to this, Suze. The diagnosis for ADD, ADHD, has now soared to 3.5 million Americans from 600,000 in just 1990. He says the rising rates of this is the guy who was one of the early backers of legitimizing this disorder. He now says that it is a national disaster of dangerous proportion. An epidemic.
You don't really want to get me started on this,
okay.
do you?
He says it's an epidemic. It's preposterous.
It's preposterous. And here's what these... I'm not going to say that there are not a small percentage of people that have a legitimate diagnosis.
That's true. And children that do.
And, yes. And some undiagnosed adults.
Right.
And they're pretty obvious who they are. The rest of these people are... It's real easy to sum up. The doctors are pushers, and the patients are speed junkies.
Yep.
And and that's it. That is the truth. And if you see your adult kid who was previously really a nice, easygoing kid suddenly having flashes of horrifying anger, turning into a different person, being frequently paranoid, and they have a diagnosis of ADHD and they are taking the medications, guess what?
Hey, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, says that 15% of high school-age children in America have been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah, and they all sell their pills to each other because guess what?
Oh, no,
it's speed.
It's speed. And
college kids take it to get through college.
Right, to get through tests and stuff.
And all you have, and they give you this stupid test that everybody knows the answers to. Everybody can be diagnosed. ADHD, and then they hand you the speed.
Well, the drug companies now are, because they pretty much saturated the kid market, they're really now targeting...
Oh, they're diagnosing all of us grown-ups who also find out we like speed.
So, right, increasing numbers of adults are finding the joys of being diagnosed with ADHD. And the drug company marketing, they had a test that they reprinted in the Times about the kind of questions. And these things, the drug companies put these out. If you can answer any of these questions yes, then perhaps you better talk to your doctor about ADHD.
There you go. That's
and there
the test.
wasn't anyone who wouldn't. Do you sometimes not complete a task? Blah, blah, blah.
No, I always sit down and do everything I do beginning to end.
I mean, it is, the test is ridiculous. According to the test, I have ADHD.
According to the test, everybody has ADHD. Isn't it brilliant?
And the thing is, the docs, it's one, and the Food and Drug Administration has, in the past, cited, I guess is the word, every drug company that manufactures this crap, Adderall, Concerta, Focalin, Vivin, I don't know what all these...
but just let me tell you what the generic name is. The generic, it's methamphetamine.
It's not quite methamphetamine, is it?
Well, it's amphetamines.
It's an amphetamine, right.
They're all amphetamines.
Okay. So the FDA...
Meth is just the illegal one. These are the legal ones.
The FDA has cited all of these drug companies at one time or another since the year 2000 with false advertising or misleading advertising. Some have been cited multiple times. It doesn't stop them from, it just means that they pull back a little bit in something that they have done. They market to parents, suggesting that if they think their kid is smarter than the grades they're bringing home, give them this pill, and all of a sudden he'll or she will be doing so much better.
And the other thing is you do understand. I mean, imagine what a lucrative practice this is. You see the patient for 2 seconds, you write the prescription, the patient pays you, the insurance company pays you, and the drug company pays you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's every reason for an unethical doc, and I know it's hard to believe, but they sure are out there. They convince themselves they're doing the right thing, but there are many of them that are no more than drug dealers.
Yep.
And I really, any parent out there that has a child that is a little unruly and acting out, really ask yourself whether the way you want to go is drugging them this way, because there are serious consequences and side effects to these drugs, and then your child gets put on other drugs in order to deal with those drugs, and some of those are such awful things, and before you know it, you've pretty much got a ruined little kid on your hand, or a ruined big kid on your hand, or a ruined spouse on your hand.
Yeah, it's an outrage, and it shows how little actually the FDA is doing its job. Because if the FDA were doing it, it wouldn't just be citing the advertising.
Well, there was another article in the paper today about one drug company that has decided not to reward doctors on the basis of how many prescriptions
they're not going to
write.
pay the docs anymore for peddling their drugs. Anyway, okay, so there's one other medical item today, and we've already talked about this, I think, and I have said stay away from this stuff, although it's hard because it seems like that's all that's out there. The FDA has now announced that antibacterial soaps don't do anything that they say they do, and in fact are a joke, and they may in fact be a negative to your health and to all of our health. So there is something in that soap called triclosan, and it is a sanitizing agent, and recent studies have suggested that triclosan interfaces with hormone levels and could spur the growth of drug-resistant bacteria. I mean, antibacterial soap, that's a no-no too. Not the hand sanitizers. That's alcohol. That's different. It's the soaps that they always tell
I mean,
you
if you look at that, theory called evolution, one would have to account for the fact that human beings grew up, and evolved in a world filled with bacteria, and therefore they were complementary structures.
Right. They grew up in a literal bacterial ooze, a constant environment that we coexisted with bacteria. And we can't live without them. I don't know. That antibacterial, anyway, they say they don't even think it kills many bacteria. It's a bunch of crap. It's advertisers creating these things, whether it's ADHD, it's marketing. And
another prime example of that is the osteoporosis, and then the diagnosis of pre-osteoporosis.
Osteopenia. Every woman has it.
Osteopenia, which is, basically like every girl, under the age of, is before their onset of menses is premenstrual. It's absolutely ridiculous. They want to broaden the market for their drugs, so they establish a new disorder, which is actually being normal.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, off the medical front. Next, on to charity. I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I'm going to now. I have always had a difficult situation in regard to one charity. A charity which I know does wonderful work, and which I do give to, but I don't give as much as you would think I would, given how good the charity is, because the thing that's holding me back
The initials SA?
Yes.
Yes.
The Salvation Army is, if you look at charities and using your charitable dollars wisely, it's about as smart a place to give your money because, they don't pay anybody big bucks. They deal, the volunteer force is amazing.
It's a very high ratio of your dollar that goes to their end product.
And they're really dealing with people who, are the marginalized. They're wonderful. The thing is the Salvation Army is, in fact, a religion. A lot of people don't realize that. It is a religion. It is not just a religious organization. It is a religion. And that religion is very, very anti-gay.
Gay.
And
yeah, and the proof that it's a religion is found in Guys and Dolls Act 2.
Oh.
And the people all said, sit down. Okay,
and
go
the
ahead.
people all said, sit down. Sit down, you're rocking the boat. Okay, so there was a piece that made me, this is why I'm coming out on this issue today. There was a piece on the op-ed page of the Times today called A Transgender Volunteer for the Salvation Army. And it's about a woman who had been born a man, who always was so enthralled with the idea of what the Salvation Army did, and she volunteered to be a bell ringer. And she was just loving it. Loving ringing the bell, and she said little kids would come up and put money in, and she'd say, "Oh, Merry Christmas," and they'd say, "Bless you," and it was just wonderful. And then one day she was ringing the bell. This is in Maine, and a friend of hers sees her and is walking toward her, and says to her, "Jenny, what on earth are you doing?" And she said, "I'm ringing my bell. I'm helping the needy." And the friend said, "Yeah, right. But don't you know about these people? Don't you know how awful they are to gays and lesbians?" And for some reason, she had not known. And that was her last day ringing the bell. She did leave. But she said it's a real awkward question. How do you weigh the fact that it discriminates against a whole group of people? And how do you weigh that against the good work that it does? And this woman said, "In the end, I solved the dilemma by occasionally I'll slip a buck into a kettle, but I won't be the one ringing the bell. And I contribute to other nonprofits, including gay rights." So that's sort of what I've done. I mean, I give them money, but I can't give them what I would give them. And I don't know. I wonder if the Salvation...
I sort of feel the same way. I used to be extremely gung-ho, and then when I became aware, it's hard to... I mean, on the one hand, I'm happy that they help the people they help, but on the other hand, I'm unhappy helping anyone that thinks it appropriate to discriminate against somebody else.
Yeah. So, I wonder if they,
Although, on a related subject, again, the Pope, did you see that the Pope got
I want to talk to you about that. It's one of my subjects. How's that related?
Because
it's religion.
Because religion. Of intolerance. Burke, it's hard to think that he didn't. Burke stands on...
Wait. My audience doesn't know who you're talking about.
I'm talking about Archbishop Raymond Burke.
You're talking about Cardinal. He's a Cardinal.
Cardinal Raymond Burke, who started out on a Wisconsin farm and then rose to bishop in Wisconsin in Racine, I believe, and then came to St. Louis and just seemed to thrive on nasty conflicts that were all really, about doctrine and being extraordinarily judgmental at all times.
Well, all the stuff that this Pope has,
he was one of the people that canceled a Catholic Charities benefit because Sheryl Crow was singing, and she's pro-choice.
Jeez. He also was responsible for putting, as the Archbishop of the San Francisco Diocese, of just crazily anti-gay prelate. I mean, okay, I'm telling you who's going to run San Francisco now. A guy
right, who... Right. Well, anyway...
Right. So he's classic, and this Pope has...
Pope Francis took away one of his big jobs. He's still sort of like the head lawyer. But
yeah, he still has a he has a lot of influence in Rome, but the Pope removed him from an also very important position, which is a place in the Congregation of Bishops. And what the Congregation of Bishops does is they are the ones that are responsible for appointing bishops all over the world. And so if the Pope wants to get a more moderate and or liberal, church, the way to do it is bottom up. And so he doesn't want the likes of a Burke in that college. He wants somebody who will put moderate bishops in. And he took Burke off, and he replaced Burke by a guy we all know here in Pittsburgh, Cardinal Wuerl, who was the bishop here for a long time, and then was made the bishop of D.C., and then became a cardinal in his own right. And Cardinal Wuerl is known as a moderate in the church who was very vocal about not barring any Catholic from receiving communion for
political views.
For for those reasons, that it was not something, and the Pope recently said that communion should not be a reward for being good. That's not what it is. And Burke, fascinatingly, even though the Pope has said what he has said about stop with this constant focus on all these cultural issues, abortion and gay rights and all that stuff, which is, the likes of Burke are obsessed by. And just last week, Burke sort of took on the Pope.
Yeah, he basically said, "Well, that's nonsense. We have to. He said we can't stop focusing on that."
I'll read the quote. One gets the impression that the Pope thinks we're talking too much about abortion, too much about the integrity of marriage as between one man and one woman. But we can never talk enough about that. So he was flat out saying to the Pope, I'm not doing it. So the Pope yanks him off and puts Wuerl on.
Well, and Burke also represents, a lot of what Francis doesn't like. I mean, he's famous for being a real dandy and wearing yards of scarlet, fabric and really dressing himself.
Right,
to the nines.
To the nines, and all
in
vests,
cardinal frocks.
Yeah, in red capes and so for him, the dandy walking around like that with heavy rings and all the stuff, and his superior, the Pope, is wearing brown shoes and a simple skull cap and not doing any. Yeah, this guy.
It sort of makes you think that he must be the Liberace of cardinals. Yeah. Well, it is how you just described him.
Yeah, indeed. Melanie has sent me this. A fake denomination of U.S. currency has been created I'm looking at $1. It's a $3 bill. It's called a queer dollar. It's got a gay rainbow flag on one side and the U.S. flag on the other. And what apparently is happening is that a lot of Salvation Army is finding these dollars in their buckets. So, in other words, it's a form of protest.
They're being sent a message, right?
That here, take my $3, fake bill, because that's all I'm willing to give you. So that's something that is being done. Oh my God, Susan, you're talking too much. I'm blaming you. We have to take a break. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm talking too much.
Okay, we'll take a break. Be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Go to the all-new BurgBargains.com for the best deals on holiday gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. Log on now for great deals from Atria's, Fair Day, Rock Bottom, and Quantum Theater. Supplies are limited. The all-new BurgBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BurgBargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Oh, yes. Hello. I got another on the medical front. This also was today's New York Times, and it did get into what it says is the big test case that everybody's watching, and that's the case of the city of Pittsburgh suing UPMC, its largest medical provider, for falsely claiming that it is a nonprofit so it can avoid paying its fair share of property taxes. And obviously this is not something that's just a Pittsburgh issue. But the Times has some interesting numbers in this piece, including that the New England Journal of Medicine has found that hospitals spent an average of 7.5% of their operating costs on charity care and community benefit. Some spent as little as 1%. A few spent as much as 20%. You have any idea where our old UPMC would fall in that?
No.
2%.
Where?
2%.
Right.
2%. And the hospital does not dispute that figure, but of course then says, but we do this and we do that. But it in no way comes anywhere near what would be the value of the tax exemption it is getting from the city for, to benefit. Well, what am I saying?
Well, there's it's not only where you are that this is occurring.
No, I know, it's everywhere.
And one of the biggest places that it happens are in all these fabulous retirement/nursing extended care places that they are building for seniors now. And all they do is put a religious name on the front of them, and they are so for profit. But they get not-for-profit status, and it's all taken off the tax rolls. And, if you want to know why our schools are suffering, it's because corporations are masquerading as as not-for-profits of one kind or another,
right.
religious or charitable or somehow, and it's all just a farce.
Well, the Times quotes the lawyer, the guy who's doing this case for the city, who's also very much he's a marvelous guy, does a lot of work for the ACLU. His name is E.J. Strasburger. And they quote him thusly, that UPMC's commitment to charity is dwarfed by its preoccupation with profits. In fact, UPMC in its annual report calls itself a, quote, $10 billion global health enterprise with excess operating revenues of nearly $1 billion, excess of nearly $1 billion, and reserves of more than $3 billion. The institution, UPMC, has 20 executives that are paid more than $1 million.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. If you are a not-for-profit charitable enterprise, then people should be not walking away with great amounts of profit.
And you know what's amazing is apparently the city's got an uphill fight on this one. That's just amazing. The standard nonprofit hospital doesn't act like a charity any more than Microsoft does. Because Microsoft gives away stuff all the time, too.
Well, these major universities.
Same thing.
Same thing. You know, I look at Washington University in St. Louis, which is now his name, which irritates me, but they are now buying up whole sections of the city to their immediate north called University City.
Sure.
And University City used to have one of the best school systems around. It's not going in that direction right now. And Washington University, this great institution of learning, is busily taking blocks and blocks and blocks of commercial real estate off the rolls.
Right. That is correct. You would, if you were to see a map of Pittsburgh and then color in all the places that are off the rolls because of their university, their hospitals, their churches, it's unbelievable. I'm not sure in terms of percentage, it might even be more than half of the real estate of the city is not taxable.
That's right, and somebody's got to make up the difference.
Well,
That's
people
why,
like me.
Everybody's taxes are so high.
And believe me, they're high.
Yes.
And a lot of people who live in the city
and at the same time, the amount of money available for your schools is going down,
right.
down.
That is correct. So this is just so despicable. Can you imagine? I did not know that UPMC has more than $21 million plus people. Unbelievable.
Well, it's and tell me what the rationale is.
Well, I'd have no problem with it if they were a private enterprise, which is what they are. They can do whatever they damn well please. But don't call yourself a charity, for God's sake. Ugh. And here's also how the Times article points out how these hospitals come up with the numbers of how charitable they are, because the hospital can way overstate the amount of charitable care they give by simply doing this. Let's say
they raise the prices.
Exactly. Well, they raise the price. Say a hospital forgives a $3,000 bill from that was for someone who came in to the ER, and they
got 5 stitches.
Exactly right. Because we all know, anyone who's ever seen a hospital bill knows that 5 stitches they'll say that was $3,000, when in fact it's more like what, $3? So the hospital says, see, here's $3,000 that we gave to charity. When it's ludicrous because
it's like your condominium fee. It pays for not only your 5 stitches, but the nurse, the emergency room, the lights, the electricity, the retirement plan for the CEO. I mean, these things cost.
No, but a lot of what you just mentioned, those are line items too that have other charges stuck on them. It's beyond. You pay for the room. You pay for the gurney.
The kit.
You pay for the kit. You pay for
the plastic cup next to the bed that you didn't realize. You better take that home because you just bought it.
You paid $40 for the aspirin they gave you. You paid. It's beyond belief. And these SOBs still say, "Oh, we're a charity." We're a charity with $3 billion in reserves, $1 billion of excess profit just last year. Unbelievable.
And I think it's a marvelous example of free enterprise. Go for it, guys.
Yeah.
Just pay your fair share, just like the rest of us have to do.
Yeah.
The rest of us that own businesses, that are for-profit businesses, that don't do nearly as well as you appear to be doing.
That's right.
But we have to pay our taxes.
Exactly. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hi, guys. I agree with you in principle, but you have to be careful of what you wish for, because a lot of people who need, a lot of organizations that really need that tax-exempt status would be swept up in
like who?
What you're talking about.
Like legitimate,
Medical, University of Pitt, and UPMC doing.
Like, wait a minute. Like what? I mean, I'm thinking, I know legitimate nonprofits. The city is full of legitimate nonprofits. So who?
Sure, but see, the problem is that they truly do fit the. They may fudge the facts, like you're saying about the charity portion of it, but in fact they and again I have to say that I agree with you in principle, but they do fit. There is no private ownership, and that is basically, when you get right down to it, that's a large portion of the definition of a nonprofit, because there is no individual owner profiting from, their individual or group of individuals profiting from and being owner of them.
Yeah, but that's not the definition of charity.
No, but that is a major portion of the definition of a nonprofit.
Okay, but if a so-called nonprofit makes billions in excess revenue,
sure.
Is that not profit?
See, but that's the thing, is that it doesn't matter how far in the black or how far in the red you are as an organization. It matters if you are in the black, who receives that black, and having it in reserve does not matter, because it's just simply that. It is just simply in reserve. It is not going to any individual as a profit. So yes, in the strictest terms of profit, they are generating a profit, but that profit is not being gained by any one individual that is a private owner of the company or any group of individuals. There's no shareholders.
All right, fine. Well, this is how the law.
You know what I mean?
This is how the law, which is crafted in Harrisburg and other state capitals under the tutelage of deep-pocketed lobbyists who work for the hospitals. This is how, the law is on their side often.
Well, as someone who trained in the law, let me just point out that when laws are passed in the most altruistic form, with the end result hoping to be to encourage people to do good deeds and not to take away in taxes that which a not-for-profit is doing in lieu of government. That would be the bottom line. Okay, so that's the process there. But every time a law is made, then there's a whole group of people that sit down and view it as a puzzle and say, okay, how can we subvert the intent and make it work for our purpose.
Exactly right.
So the intent, as our caller says, is exactly what it is. Good, you're charitable, you should have a reserve that to do more good with. At some point there needs to be a test. Do you actually comply? To me, one of the tests would be nobody in a not-for-profit walks away with $1 million salary.
I think that's a reasonable test.
I mean, I really do think that if you claim that you are a not-for-profit and that, everything that you are doing is the end result for some sort of societal good, because that is the only reason you're doing that. That's the only reason that status is granted, that you are doing some societal good. If the only societal good you're doing is paying a lot of people a lot of money, I don't get it. I think that's one of those places where you get to go in and cap. You get to make caps. You get to require that once your reserves become a certain, percentage of X, that you either have to use those funds for the purpose your not-for-profit says it is, or you lose your status and you pay taxes on the excess funds.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you absolutely can draft legislation that
but you can't
to these issues.
Yeah, but you can't draft legislation like that if you have a legislature in the thrall of the big boys like UPMC.
No, but I am just saying, it's not hard to imagine how to make this legislation work.
Do you know UPMC is
use
actually...
it or lose it. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And we have those kind of laws and those kinds of switches in several kinds of laws in all sorts of different areas. There's no reason why there couldn't be a similar switch for not-for-profits, because they are at a point where they are openly... flaunting a status and not for the purpose that was made.
Susan.
What? Sorry.
You can't hear me.
No.
Jesus. Okay. This is a fine system we have here. Shit. Excuse me. Now I forgot what I was going to say because I'm so annoyed by the tiddlywink crapola I'm dealing with here. I forgot. Never mind. So, back to the Salvation Army. Barbara writes, we just cost the Salvation Army some money. Thanks, Lynn and Susan and the caller for information on the Salvation Army. I was unaware and always put $1 or $2 in every red kettle. I am printing this very cool fake $3 bill right now as I listen, which I will be dropping into the kettles from this point forward.
Very cool fake $3 bill right now as I listen.
Hey, caller.
Hi.
Turn down that audio of yours. If there's one thing I hate more than my own voice, it's hearing it twice.
Lynn?
Yes?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, shit. Excuse me. Yes? Hello?
Yes, Lynn.
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
Oh.
Hi, Lynn.
Hello?
Did you read your fortune today, your horoscope in the paper?
No.
It says, because I think, I believe you're a Capricorn, is that correct?
That is correct.
Hello? I lost you.
No, you didn't.
No, you haven't.
Oh, okay. I'm experiencing technical difficulties. Anyway, I believe you're a Capricorn, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to shoot myself. Caller, what does it say? What's the horoscope?
It says you can't negotiate with someone ringing a noisy bell. When you put money in the Salvation Army kettle, don't expect to get anything in return save the satisfaction of doing a good deed.
Are you kidding? That's what it says? Oh, my God. Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Bye. So what do you make of that?
Well, apparently, whoever wrote the horoscope had a premonition that you were going to be saying what you said, and they're rebuking you.
Yes. What is with this? I am so sorry. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. We got to take a break. Then I'll go shoot myself. We'll be right back.
Around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Just in time for the holidays, Little's Shoes is your UGG headquarters. Little's has the largest selection of UGGs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. Don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. All available at Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store. Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill or littleshoes.com.
Pittsburgh City Paper's special pullout, City Living at its Best, is available now. Pick up one today for a look at the all-diverse real estate options in the Golden Triangle. Plus, for Jangler, holiday pops at Hines Hall, Nebraska, and news of the weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania. And on the web at pghcitypaper.com, on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com, and check out the new CP Haps app, available for download from iPhone App Store and Google Play.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right. Welcome back. So listen to this great idea, Suze.
Yeah?
Oh, God. The two of us sound worse than usual, and I don't know why anyone would listen to these two voices. Suze.
Yeah. What?
Never mind. Oh, I'm going back to bed and getting up again and seeing if this will work. Okay.
So we've got two terrible voices. Go.
All right. So anyway, the president had some of the newly elected mayors of major cities over to the White House the other day. And he actually told our mayor-elect, Bill Peduto, he said, what would you suggest and he motioned to the poor mayor-elect of Detroit. What kind of advice can you give him? Because, I mean, everybody thinks like Pittsburgh is some kind of city that turned itself around, blah, 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 and now Detroit has to do that. So I don't know what Peduto had to say this, had to do that. Anyway, Peduto went on. Listen to what he came up with, the greatest ideas, which he just flat out pitched to the president. He said, I think that you should look at Pittsburgh, because you think it's so hot, as an urban laboratory where you, the White House, could try out initiatives such as early education initiatives. You let us be your lab. And if they work here, then, so I thought, what a smart thing to say. And he says, Peduto said to the president, we're the perfect size for this White House to test programs that it wants to see and then to be able to have small successes to make them into bigger successes. And then he went on to say, and by the way, what I also would like, it's like sitting on Santa's lap, I guess, with these mayors. He said, now that you're taking that scaffolding down from around the Washington Monument, could we have it? I would like to put it back up in Pittsburgh. And the president and everybody else in the room looked at Peduto like he was nuts. And he said, Susan, there's a bike trail that begins here on the north side of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And goes all the way to Washington, D.C. You can ride your bike.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what Peduto said is we'll rebuild the scaffold up on the North Shore here to mark the end of the trail. And we can get that done in time for the city's 200th anniversary in 2016. And he said, I think it would be really great if the trail started at the Washington Monument and essentially ended at the Washington Monument. And Susan, this scaffolding was designed by architect Michael Graves.
Yeah, so it's probably beautiful.
Well, it is beautiful. And some people are upset that they're taking the scaffolding down because they found the Washington Monument a lot more interesting with the scaffolding and its lights. It had lights on it around it. So I love that idea.
Well, it sounds like you got yourself a good mayor.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, there's no doubt we do. He's a guy with 5,000 ideas an hour.
Well, so what did anybody say okay?
No, nobody said okay yet, but why wouldn't they? What are they going to do with that scaffolding? Give it to us. Can you imagine what it would be an amazing structure. Yet another amazing structure on our skyline, which is beautiful to start with. I just think that is I'm telling you, Peduto, yes! Boy, we finally did something right. I mean, that's fantastic, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm very happy. So, everybody's very happy, too, about the federal judge who said that the National Security Agency's program of keeping records on Americans' phone calls is probably unconstitutional. He also called it almost Orwellian and also said that James Madison would be aghast. And so that's pretty good. The judge said, I cannot imagine a more indiscriminate and arbitrary invasion than this systematic and high-tech collection and retention of personal data on virtually every single citizen for purposes of querying and analyzing it without prior judicial approval. Such a program surely infringes on the degree of privacy that the founders enshrined in the Fourth Amendment. That's a conservative Republican judge put on there by W. Mm-hmm. And I think he got that one right. And so, again, we wouldn't even know about that if Snowden hadn't leaked it.
Yeah, it still doesn't make me like Snowden.
You don't have to like him, but you have to start questioning whether or not that he did, at least in that regard, tell us something we should know.
We needed to know.
Right.
Right.
I think.
Well, but, it's every time there is a new technology, it will be used in a way that we didn't expect because it can be used that way. And until the law catches up and says, I think it's a natural consequence of new technology.
Well, the thing is, technology is going to continue to outpace all our systems, our legal system, our social systems. It will continue to outpace. So we're going to be playing catch up for the rest of our
right. And I mean,
lives.
But it's asking people at all levels of government to be well enough versed in constitutional law to say, hey, is this good idea I'm having actually constitutional, or can I just do this? You know, I mean, the IRS scandal of last year or earlier in this year was exactly that. I mean, they came up with a rubric that made sense to them to capture the information they wanted. It didn't occur to them that they weren't allowed to ask those questions.
Ray just popped my balloon.
What?
He said regarding the scaffolding. He said the scaffolding is probably rented. It's not owned. There's no way someone can give it to us. Probably.
Well, that's usually true, but I mean in a case like
what? Who's going to give it
for the Washington Monument where it's been, so architecturally designed. I mean, I still think that you could buy the pieces.
We don't want to buy it. We want to be given it. We don't have any money.
Oh, okay.
There goes our Washington Monument scaffolding. That's too bad. Okay, well, Susan, we have just a minute or two, and you reacted saying you found it scary when your son sent you and me the piece about Google buying up all these weird robots. And the thing that creeped me out was they said that the robots would be used for elder care. I can't imagine anything more frightening.
And I mean, the thing that scared me is how fast they run. I mean, and I was thinking, why do you need to run that fast for elder care?
Well, because elder care is just one thing. They're running that fast for military use. Who knows what? Google says they're not doing this for Defense Department contracts. But come on. This stuff is always used by military. And here's somebody saying exactly what I think. And I always like having whatever I think, parroted back to me in the pages of a newspaper. And here it is. His name is Shepard Ambulus. He says, while some see Google's rapid acquisition of robotics firms as a positive step, others, like myself, see this as the beginning of a long and dangerous road, a road which we likely shouldn't go down. The road, if traveled, will essentially lead us toward human extinction. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, they'll take our jobs, the robots.
They will eventually make them smarter than us, and it'll be like, hell all over again. Well, it just scares me to death.
No, it's exactly what's going to happen. And people say, well, yeah, but robots need us to... No, they might now, but they won't later. What don't people get about that? And then there was some quote from one of the scientists at one of the robotic firms who was questioned about, don't you worry about, where this... And it's quite clear they don't. They're in it for the sheer joy of, moving this forward. And they don't engage in that next step of what is the impact of what we're doing. I can't believe scientists don't ask that. I can't believe they don't, but they don't. They have a totally different mindset.
We're always surprised by the unintended consequences of the things that we do.
Well, I think, yeah. Here, Tom writes, Ray makes it his mission to be negative. Obviously, some cash would be needed, which could pay for scaffolding and moving and all that. Probably cheaper than marble, Ray. Give us the scaffolding. We could start up a little... We'll have little children bring their pennies to school. That's how I think we built the Cathedral of Learning here, didn't we? It was like little dimes and nickels and stuff. Could happen. Well, we didn't get to the affluenza thing, but then that's probably just for the best.
Quickly, did you see the thing about somebody stuck a thing up of a African American kid, that had killed 4 people and said that he was a victim of povertyitis or something.
Well, yeah, and
it's the same thing,
right?
Except it doesn't work in the reverse.
No, and I would think you have a better argument there than the kid's
a much better
too
argument
rich.
there than the parents failed to discipline the kid.
And I didn't realize that the kid is being sent. I mean, I knew that he's going to be away from his parents and put in some facility, but the facility, it turns out,
is a high price.
Do you know how high priced? It's one of these fancy schmancy places in California.
He's moving to Beverly Hills.
Right. Guess what it costs for a year?
$500,000.
Exactly right. It costs $450,000 for this kid to be put where he's going to be put. Oh.
In other words, they fined his parents $500,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he killed a bunch of really good people.
He killed 4 good people, and he
paralyzed his
the life
friend,
of one of his friends. Oh, now PJ's popped the balloon. Yeah, it's a great idea, but they keep it for future projects. That scaffolding is from a project in 1999, actually. So anytime the Washington Monument needs, they've got that scaffolding there. Well, when it's not being used on the Washington Monument, why can't it be standing here in Pittsburgh? Huh? Instead of storing it someplace. Oh, well, it's a great idea. But see, Peduto's full of those kinds of ideas. I love that stuff. I love it. All right, Sue, stay warm and safe travels tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
See you soon, I hope.
All
Bye.
right, yeah. And tomorrow here, I believe, is one of our Jared Day days. Jared Day, professor. Jared Day, historian. Jared Day, and the compiler of Daily News Nuggets will make his monthly visit tomorrow. That's always fun and always educating. So the prof tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.